lives and stimulating this discussion about. Anyway, so that's that film.
Now let's get on to the...
Sorry, we're taking a while. How are we doing for time?
We have about 15 minutes.
To go?
15 or 20. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So again, we're going back to how the research began. We'd sort of been doing research with these films. We didn't really realise it. We weren't calling it research. We were just doing promo stuff in the community. Yeah. So then, really, with Kelly coming to us, then Joe, that's
this is Richard Collins, who was the coordinator of East Clare, and he came, or she came to East Clare to see.
that's Kelly Johnson.
And this is Kelly Johnson, the researcher from Australia. And this is Brian Hogan, who I set up the coffee shop with, and that's myself there at the end. But basically, when she asked us to get involved in the research, we said, yeah, why not? Like, I mean, it was a challenge for ourselves to take it on and run with it, because we didn't know where it was going to lead.
Yeah, so what it was about. What sort of things was she saying? What was she? How did you come to do what you were doing then?
Well, basically, we were running the shop for about a year or 2 years, I'd say, before that. But we wanted to see what difference it was making in the community, so we took a lot of sample questionnaires and stuff like that, and then
you also wanted to see if it was making money, didn't you?
Well,
or if it could make more money. Wasn't that a part of it?
Well, we wanted to see was it a valuable source for the community. Plus, we didn't want to make it in such a way that we were losing money. Yes. I mean, you know, there's no point in going.
Run into the ground.
Run into the ground and then
feasible. Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be. So we did all that, and we kept going for about 8 years. Then Brian left me a few years before that and pursued something else.
Yes.
And I left then.
Just recently.
Not long. I've closed it up not long ago.
Yes.
But somebody else is running it now, so it's still there.
Still viable.
Yeah.
And so you met up with Kelly and you did this research. Actually, we should have brought the books.
Yeah, we never thought of it, but we can send it on.
And we're going to the principles now that really Kelly was establishing when she started the work up. She didn't introduce it like this to us. She just said, what are people interested in and what would people like to do more talking about, thinking about, what would people like to change. It was very much more an informal conversation. But I suppose then you look behind the sort of ideas of how things were introduced to try and understand. And I've actually got the book there now. It's, you know, and then there were 5 principles. And what I think is interesting, because we've done this presentation a few times with another of our colleagues, Jer Minogue, who is one of the main researchers and presenters. We were called. We've been asked to go all over the place.
He was in Tel Aviv, which wasn't he?
We were in Tel Aviv last year because the international people are looking at this work and saying this actually in Ireland is really quite innovative and groundbreaking. So he looked at some of these principles that Kelly was establishing, and he put them in more immediate language. I think it's sort of like. But she thought it was an improvement as well. So I'm not.
No, but he put it in his language that he could understand it. Because he was finding it difficult to understand what she was saying.
Yeah,
she was using big fancy words.
Well, yeah. So she wanted to. So the research into things that are important. I'll write these here because, in a sense, we just wanted to have said this, and it might inform the discussion later on.
The research should be with what we want to know.
About what we want to
know. About what we want to know, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to need a strong.
In the drawer, top drawer.
The next one.
You're okay. I think there's actually some colours there. Be prepared.
I can write them down for you while Chris keeps on.
Yeah.
Is that a Hamlet or
Whiteboard mark.
gun?
Yeah. Okay. So research into things that are important to disabled people. Here's the academic looking at people and saying, this is what we'd like to do for you.
Yeah.
The research should be about what we want to know. it should make things happen that people with disability want to happen. Some of this might be self-explanatory, but the research should make happen what we want to happen. Make happen. It's the bits in red we wanted to say.
That's what I'm reading.
Yeah?
I'm on the job.
You're on message. Everyone should do the research together. Research should have us all working together. You know, in the sense of not just people, researchers who are not trained, having the skills to put those research skills at the service of and in cooperation together and learning from each other. You know, not saying, oh, we know, you don't, we're filling you up. You know, that sort of mindset. This is where I think he cuts on a bit of a trick chase here. Now, people with intellectual disabilities are part of doing the research. Some of you guys may well be familiar with this, but you know, participatory research, quality research, participating, which could mean you just do the handouts and the academics sort of like organise it all, but participating. The research should have our sign and seal, how it's done, and the research results should clearly show our influence. I mean, I'd have to say that final little bit was a little bit of clarifying I did with Jer, but sign and seal, it should run through with us and where we are. It's not just participating then, that's what I think is quite interesting in what he's saying. It's us, it's the fabric of it, it's the taste of it almost, you know. The research question, what is done, and the reports should be in plain words.
Yep.
Should
the research report should make sense and be useful to us. Summary by German 2011.
So again, I think that just kicks it on a pace there. You know, it's not just the words being so that you can read it. We're allowing you to read it. You know. We want it to make sense. There's something more going on there than just being able to read it, and also to be useful, to actually make things better. To have so that participatory into that emancipatory thing. You know, where people get freedom from and generate things happening from themselves, not just being along for the ride. That sort of thing. Anyway, so there we go. Those were the. Now we're going to go through some of the research that was done then, and
basically this is Jill, and the first one was the coffee shop story. The second one then was the garden story, and this is Patrick Carney, who his life story was done while Kelly Johnson was in Ireland.
Yes.
So they're the three things, and she also worked with other organisations other than the Brothers Charity while she was in Ireland as well.
She did other projects around the country in different places. There was a bullying project. There was another one where she did quite an interesting project. I won't name the place, partly because I can't remember it, but it was about activities in the centre, and they interviewed people in the centre. They got, you know, a bit of academic clout, and the Marie Curie Fellowship, it opened a few doors, and they got into a place where they were saying, can we talk to the people who use this workshop and see what is going on there? And they said, oh yeah, that's grand, you know. And I think they were so proud of the projects they were running, all the things that were going on, all the activities people wanted to go to, and the majority of people said, we'd like to spend a bit more time on our own. You know, we're getting bussed from here to there and doing all these different things that aren't really what we're asking to do. So there was quite interesting learning from rolling back what people think they're doing with all the best intentions and finding out what's going on for people who are actually meant to be being served. So that's interesting. And in that way, I think Mary Keeley, our Director of Services, was slightly chary when they said, when what came out of a little think tank group of people with disabilities, what's important here that you'd like to do research about. And there was Joe and his ground-breaking coffee shop in the community, part of what's going on, run by people with disability. That was on message. That was where we want to go. A project about the garden project within a workshop, enclosed environment, segregated setting.
Now, when we
keep it under wraps, sort of thing. You know.
The workshop is there, but there's not so many people using it anymore. The garden is still there.
That's right.
Because all of the people most of the people that was there in my time and Jer's time we're all out working now. There's a fair few of us out working, so there isn't that many people going in to that type of structure.
There isn't. But
No.
what people were saying there, Joe, was the word was coming out then that this workshop was maybe closing, and what did that mean? There was a sort of little bit of, I say, panic in the air, but
Yeah,
what
yeah.
are we going to end up doing? And what predominantly, well, a fair little percentage of people who worked in that place were saying, well, I'm going to quote the words, you know, I broke my back setting that place up, working in that place. You know, and now it's just, and we never got paid. So what's actually?
We got paid, but
Well, pennies,
I wouldn't like to tell you what we
tell
got.
us the money. Go on, tell us the money. For a week's work.
We get €3.50 into our hands, or whatever it was at that time.
Yeah.
Right, it was $2.50 taken out for our dinners, because the dinner was provided, and yet we went there at 9 o'clock and we might finish at 5 o'clock. Now we did make cots and woodwork produce and algebras for the Killaloe diocese at the time.
None of the proceeds came back directly.
No.
So-
It went in to keep the place going.
But it's,
but
you know,
we as people who used it weren't getting the payment for it.
yes. And I
So
suppose
that's
what it's
why
saying is,
that's why we left.
that's why it carries great credibility, because people, services commissioning a report about what they're doing, they'll be keeping certain things under wraps and not wanting to show. But this is why the independent, authentic exploration of what's gone on and what people want to talk about, coming from their perspective, that is powerful, you know. And the contrast between the two stories, which Joe was delighted to tell, but also this guy wanted to say, you know, I broke my back doing, and actually it's this guy here who actually said that.
Yeah.
Patrick Carney, I broke my back working for that place. It would break my heart if it closed.
Yeah, but
Even though the predominant
a lot
feeling
of us wanted to get out of there, still at the same time,
yes, of course.
because when we were given the opportunity, we took it with both hands.
Yeah, people knew no better in a sense, but that's where they spent their life working.
Yeah.
So this was the start of the Inclusive Research Network. It began with
2008.
Kelly Johnson, 2006-07, sowing the seed, doing some projects, and then she went back after the fellowship closed, and there was a kick on, you know. So that's, you know, in a sense, an evidence of something strong and lasting and ongoing potentially there. These were the posters that went out to attract people to be involved in this network of training that Trinity, through the National Institute and the National Federation of Voluntary Bodies, it's the umbrella organisation of disability services, was looking into, you know, promoting, and yeah, we were all getting influenced by that. So these are the people who are involved. Inclusive Research Network is people with disabilities,
Intellectual disabilities,
the supporters. You know, this is a very crucial part of it. Supporters, and that network has sort of kicked off and died again.
When Rob is talking about supporters, it's people who support us or help us in the background to do some of the research, or
Yes,
we talk the research over and see if we're making sense before we
yes,
do anything. That's what
Yes,
you mean by
supporters.
supporters.
yeah. And making people, you know, accessible in that sense. Academic researchers, you know, the whole thing has to have credibility, and you know, and we're given the training then, which is what happens through NID, a collaboration between NID
Trinity College.
and the Federation.